Hey everybody, Brantos here. So I want to make a quick video about handgun sight choice. So handgun sight choice varies definitely upon personal preference, but just some things to consider. So when looking at handgun sights, we'll start first with the traditional 3-dot. These are iridescent, so once they've had a little bit of light on them, they'll glow for a bit. 3-dot are kind of the standard right now. I'm not really a big fan of 3-dot, and the reason is, and you'll see more companies are switching to blacked out rear, is when you're trying to focus on that front dot, when you're looking at these 3 dots, your eye goes between the back, between the front, between the back, between the front when you're trying to line things up. And it's a little distracting trying to line up all 3 dots compared to just blacked out and just picking the one front sight out. But 3 dots, I mean, they've been effective for a long time. I know H&K invented, I think, 3-dot sights on the P7. So, you know, they've been around for a long time, you know, since the 80s. It was kind of the standard. Before, everyone wanted tritium 3-dot night sights, everything like that. But now we're starting to see a trend away from that. So this is your typical 3-dot. On the shadow systems here, you'll see this has a blacked out rear with an Ameriglow tritium front sight. So with that blacked out rear, you can already see this. Like the camera's doing it as well. It's focusing on that front a lot better than the previous handgun. And this does the same thing with your eye. You know, it's a lot easier to focus on that front. One thing, though, to consider with these blacked out rears is you see how much space there is between that front sight and the left and the right side. If there's too much space there, it's kind of annoying to line up. Like, am I hitting left? Am I hitting right? Like lining up that center. And then the other thing is these rears are pretty high up. I know they wanted a ledge so you could rack this pistol off of it. However, when you go that high up and you're on each side of your sight, sometimes it obscures, you know, what's around your target. So if you're looking at things at a distance, this rear dot or this rear sight, because of how big it is going to obscure more and more as you try to take a further shot with your handgun. So this works great for, you know, typical self-defense distances. If you're trying to take a long-range shot, these are going to start obscuring things. So if something's moving left to right, it's going to be a little more difficult with a rear sight like that. All right. So recently, because of the rear sight, I switched over testing these out. This is an XS big dot sight. So what's a little bit different with these is that back, you actually line it up underneath. So it's almost like a forced 6 o'clock hold. So you line it up like a lollipop with that big front dot. And, you know, I know James Yeager made a few videos on these XS sights. He was a fan of them. I'm a fan of them in the idea that it doesn't obscure things on the left and right because you're putting that target above. You can see the sight picture and all the surrounding areas of your target. So that's pretty slick. I haven't had an issue with it not being accurate either. These, you know, with just usage and practice, you can definitely still hit targets pretty far out there with these. So I got this on my Walther PDP, still testing it out. Big fan so far. So yeah, the next thing, fiber optics. So on this Springfield XDM Elite, we got fiber optics with a blacked out rear here. So fiber optics are really, really good for just shooting in general. With night, you definitely want a light source or something like that to get this fiber optic buzzing. You know, you can really see it when there's some light hitting it. It's especially great like during the day. But one of the things you'll see too is on a longer pistol or a competition or a target pistol. So this has an adjustable rear on there. What you'll see too is this slot back here gets smaller and smaller. The smaller it is, the more accurate, or I guess I shouldn't say more accurate, but the more precise your sight picture will be. So if there's not a lot of left and right movement, if it's a really small slot and a really small front kind of width on there, it'll be really precise. However, it's going to make your shots potentially a little bit slower because you have a smaller picture to line up. So it's something to think about, when you're looking at self-defense sights, is you don't want to pick something too small, too narrow, too precise. You definitely want to save that more for target pistol type situations. And Springfield, in their wisdom, did that. So if you see here on this XDM Elite, the 3.8 inch, they wind out that rear sight and they actually put like kind of a U-notch. So it's a U, so you put that right in the bottom of there, and then that's your picture. So I'm a big fan of these U-notches, especially with like the front circle, you just drop it into the bucket. I'm actually a fan of Glock stock sights, the way that you drop it into the bucket and things like that as well. So, yeah, just wanted to make a video. On my PPQ, you can see I have really narrow sights on here. These are Dawson Precision fiber optic, and I picked a narrower picture, so this is really precise. I can shoot really well with this handgun. However, to line it up, it takes a little bit more time. It's just that small delay. But when seconds count type of thing, maybe you want a more self-defense focused pair of sights like this. So yeah, in conclusion, what you want to consider is your sight picture, what distance you're going to typically use this handgun for, and then also, you need to consider night and day type of things with that, as well as, are you effective with it? Can your eye do what it needs to? Can you line it up the way that you intend? It takes some practice. I'm a big fan. I know night fishing has a U-notch. I'm a big fan of the U-notch. Really getting used to these yet, but so far so good. I have another pair that I'm going to be putting on a Glock, a custom Glock that I'm building. So yeah, a lot of things to consider when you're picking sights. Definitely go for your own preference, but remember, keep the size and shapes to your intended purpose with the handgun. If you have any other suggestions on great sights, please leave it in the comments. Yeah, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.